All right, what's going on? All right, let's uh let's talk about introversion and extroversion because there's still a ton of confusion when it comes to introversion and extroversion as far as people, basically not understanding what it's really about, at least in terms of this whole, cognitive theory deal. Um, you know, this whole notion that if you like to be around people, you're an extrovert, and if you don't like to be around people, you're an introvert. That's got to stop. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's probably by default a predisposition to kind of want to be around people if you're an extrovert and not be around people if you're an introvert. But that's not necessarily the case at all. That's not necessarily the case. As a matter of fact, how do you think people who are introverts actually survive if they are born into big families? There's nowhere they can go. They're around people all the time. What do you think they do, right? They don't just, cease to exist. They don't just wither up and just hop in a coffin and die because there's all these people around all the time. Okay, but what generally happens is, they find some quiet time even with people around. You know, for example, there may be people in the room, the people may even be talking, but the introvert may be off in the corner somewhere or sitting off in a chair, isolated kind of, even with people in the room and reflecting or reading. Okay. And that's how they can recharge, even with people around. Sometimes you can't get away, okay, from being around people. Or maybe, you could take a walk, if the weather permits or something like that. But that's what you would have to do. But, if it's wintertime, let's say, and it's cold in a lot of places, and you can't just go outside, or at least you wouldn't want to. So you find ways to, recharge yourself with people around. Introverts become very resourceful. Just ask introverts, who are from larger families. They'll tell you some of the things that they do in order to, bring themselves back into balance. Now, as far as extroverts, quote, needing to be around people all the time, that's not true either. I'm an extrovert, and there's no question about it. Okay, and I don't like to necessarily always be around people. As a matter of fact, I tend to not want to be around people, not because I have any anxiety about being around them, but because most people to me are just whack and disappointing, and incompetent and lazy and all these different things. Then I just almost rather just say to hell with it and talk to myself, rather than have to deal with all of these what I'm saying, buffoons in my area, when I walk around. So personally, for me, I like to be, more to myself by strictly, by choice, and I just talk out loud and entertain myself. What I mean? Don't get me wrong. I like bouncing ideas off other people. The problem is because I don't know a lot of intuitives, it gets annoying having to, try to bounce ideas off people who really don't have, the natural capacity to really want to interact in the way that I want to interact, which is on a more intellectual, deep, creative, abstract level at times, or even just, it doesn't even have to be all that abstract, but just, in a way that's, maybe a little unconventional, or just something that's thinking bigger than the norm, thinking about something, that, maybe a little more difficult to achieve than something, than you would normally think about, basically, kind of having, maybe, farther reaching aspirations or whatever, and talking about those kinds of things, something that you might be able to achieve, that's kind of out of the ordinary maybe, or just, not routine, you know, so that's those kinds of things. Basically, if you're an extrovert, you just basically like, to kind of interact with your external environment, and that's where talking to other people comes into play. But people don't even have to be around. I keep trying to tell people you don't have to have people around to be an extrovert. All you really want to do is just externally communicate, like what I'm doing right now, talking out loud. Okay, and this is stuff that I do when the camera's not on. So what you see me doing right now is stuff that happens when the camera's not on and nobody's in the room, and I could be in the car by myself, whatever. You know what I mean? You just want to. get your ideas out externally. You don't sit quietly like an introvert would do and think about things inside your head and kind of, have things playing out internally. Like I can't be inside my head and have things play out and see like events developing, and I don't have a world inside there. I have a world outside, in out in externally out in space, in the open, in the open, where I have to hear my ideas, in order for me to really be, um, engaged. I mean, I don't even like to read silently. I can, and I do all the time. I just don't prefer it. If I read out loud, I can actually process the information more quickly, and I can comprehend the information more completely if I actually read out loud. I like to read out loud. I like to talk out loud, and so that's the deal with that as far as extroverting. Okay, my communication and my ideas and such. People don't have to actually be around. Please understand that. And if you're an introvert, people can be around and you can still recharge. You just will probably, need to be off, a little isolated and not be interacting directly with the people. Okay, as long as you're not interacting directly with the people and you can actually, you know, not be bothered for a small period of time, that's really all you need. It's that simple, So hopefully that clears that up, But this whole notion that you know, extroverts just need to be around a lot of people. No, no. Now some extroverts have a predisposition to want to be around more people than others, like FE doms and SE doms. They tend to want to be around people more so than, let's say, NE doms or TE doms, right? Um, so I think that has to be taken into consideration. The introverts, because they're inside their head a lot, where they do their best work, generally speaking, they do come off as being quiet and reserved because of that. Because it, it, they're not quiet because they're necessarily shy, because they may not be shy at all. And extroverts could be shy, okay? But the introvert is not necessarily shy, but because they're thinking inside their head, they're not talking. That's why that's why they're silent. Not because they're shy per se, okay, of communicating, but because they're already communicating internally. And I think that being an introvert, for one reason or another, sometimes carries a negative connotation. But being an introvert or an extrovert is neither good nor bad. An individual may be good or bad, but not because you're an introvert or an extrovert. Okay, so just let that be known, and whatever you are, just be cool with it, and just embrace it and use your strength to your advantage, regardless of what other people are talking about, because it'd be better for you in the long run. And and that's all that really matters. Just do you. If other people, not, down with it, or they don't understand it, if they want to understand and they ask you, and you can kind of, let them know, fine. But if they're not interested in really learning, they just want to ridicule you, just write them off as best you can. Get them up out of there. As far as dealing with them, and then just do you. All right, but that's the deal with that. Introversion, extroversion. All right, not necessarily what you think. Hopefully this helped out. Later.